loves to spin to win, Garen loves to spin to win, Beyblades love to spin to win, Crash from Crash Bandicoot loves to spin to win, and gals love when you spin to win on their happy button, if you catch my drift. And we are going to be spin to winning with this build. What is up, you damn gorgeous and beautiful gamers? Welcome back to Role-Playing Games. This is Mariel Connor in the internet, where we like to discuss about RPGs, like the content, like in the video, super appreciated. No one has told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person, so let's get right into the matter. We're going to be beginning with stats, gear, stuff, whatnot, but first and foremost, like always, allow me to demonstrate. Enjoy.
别想在我主客面前隐藏实力，出招吧！让他过来。
With that being said, let's move over to stats. As you were able to see, it's very powerful. Now let's see what this is going to do. The first thing that we are going to be needing is going to be Fire Virtue 99. That is a must. That is where our most damage is going to be coming from because of the weapon that we are using. And then again, for you to be able to use the armor set, which is the Fire Subtlety that we are using, you need 70. So we're going to be speaking about this later when we come to the weapons section. But as you can see, I have some cheeky little points into Earth Virtue. Why do I have them? I would very much love to have them instead on Wood Virtue, because Wood Virtue is going to allow us to buff for longer periods of time and to sustain the effect that we are going to be using for this build. But the Earth Virtue that we have right there is to maintain that beautiful, gorgeous and divine agility on A. We are going to be using agility on A because the higher your agility, the less it costs you to use your martial arts. So, that being said, it's also going to allow you to dodge faster. We are going to be focusing on light armor for this build, but if you want to go for something medium, you might as well place some little extra points into earth instead of wood, but that'll be entirely up to you. What Fire Virtue is going to give us, it's going to be damage. That is the first thing that it's going to give us. The second thing, it's going to decrease the consumption for martial arts. As you can see right here, I have 58% consumption on martial arts, so I can spin to win like a maniac without having to worry about anything else. We do get more spirit gain rate by using fire, but we're not going to be using basic attacks that much with this character. That being said, spell duration, it is in our best interest to maintain this thing as high as possible. That is what Wood Virtue is going to do, and the effect that the Subtlety of Fire that we're going to be using for this build, we're going to be maintaining it with that Wood Virtue. Moving on to the weapons, and this is the weapon of choice. The halberds. Any halberd that you are able to get, dual halberds, they are going to scale both on fire and wood, meaning you're going to get that precious, beautiful and divine 640 damage if you manage to build my character somewhat, your character somewhat like mine. And also, you are going to be needing to have the halberds with Beckoning Pine. So my advice, I was lucky enough to get the level 5 halberds, but if you do not have them, don't worry that much. You can go look for a level 4 right here. Shouldn't take you that long to get your halberd, level 4 gear halberd that is going to have beckoning pine, which is this beautiful bad boy that is going to allow us to spin to win like a maniac, endless and countless hours and enemies and whatnot. Moving on, as for the weapons, I have this one right here just to maintain my Subtlety of Fire face, but if you want to have something highly damaging, if you're able to maintain that stuff, I most definitely advise for you to have the Sky Piercing Halberd, which is Luvu's Halberd, or basically anything that has Iron Calf, because if you raise up all of that stuff and then you use the Iron Calf, it's basically going to one-shot bosses. And yeah, that is pretty much the weapons. Now, as for the gear, we're going to be using the Subtlety of Fireface. The Subtlety of Fireface is going to give us spirit gain from basic attacks, and we're not going to be using that much. Fire spell face consumption, we're not going to be using that much. But martial arts spirit consumption, we are going to be using that. We are going to be using Berserker's Might, and we are going to be using Subtlety of Fireface. Requires a fire virtue value of 70 or greater to activate. When you hit an enemy with martial arts attack, you will gain up to 5 stacks of Subtlety of Fireface. Each stack increases HP damage dealt with martial arts up to 5 stacks. So the damage of our spin to win is going to increase potentially even more as you spin to win like a maniac. And since this is a fast attacking thing, you are going to be gaining lots and lots of damage. What we want to have in our gear, it is ideal for us to have the level 5s, but if you're not able to get a level 5, you would be able to get rid of you would be able to get rid of burns accumulation and luck, but what you are going to be using as a main source of everything, it's going to be martial arts damage in as many pieces of gear as you can. We're going to be using burns accumulation, not that one, flame attack power, and martial arts spirit consumption. That's very self-explanatory. We want to consume as less spirit as possible when we are spinning to win like a maniac, spinning to winning, and yeah. Also, I have luck and burns accumulation in enemies just because this is a level 5 and just because I get to have that thing. Another thing that it's also nice to have, it's power gain up in martial arts. This is a little bit more random. You will have to farm a lot of weapons, but it's not really that rare. It really is not going to cost you that much to have this on your weapon. But at the end of the day, since you're always going to be spinning to winning, you will always have power gain, which is always going to increase the attack power and dealt damage to enemies. And that is basically what we want to have for our gear. Now, as for spells, the only ones that we are going to mainly be using, we are not going to be using this character as a mage or a caster. We're not going to be using any of those fire spells. What we are going to be using is amplified damage and flame weapon. In most cases, when you are spinning to winning and you stagger an enemy and you cause that fatal strike that you have been seeing throughout the entirety of the video, you will be able to buff yourself and still recover all of your spirit bar with that fatal strike. Sometimes you will have time and spirit enough to cast both of them, which is my recommendation. Whenever you get the chance, you cast flame weapon and amplify damage. But if you do not get the chance, if you have enemies in front of you, then either fire flame weapon or amplify damage. Both of them are going to work perfectly fine. And then finally, we are going to be using... Do not expect for me to pronounce this thing. I can barely speak my main languages, and then yeah. Anyways, we're going to be using this bad boy, friend of mine. I like him, he's very nice. For martial arts damage, oh boy, give me all of that. That's beautiful, that's gorgeous, I want that. Martial arts spirit consumption, and then what's that thing? Applies lows to the target enemy upon a successful martial arts hit. So we are always going to be slowing our enemies, and this is going to work wonders for us because when you're fighting several and multiple enemies, you are going to be spinning to win, and they are all going to be inflicted with this thing, and they are not going to be able to follow you. Now, again, just to wrap up the video, a little bit of how this thing is going to work. Basically, you spin to win, you spin to win, you spin to win. Get a fatal strike. When you get a fatal strike, cast either amplify damage or flame weapon. But it is also very important that you learn how to play with this build. Alright? Some enemies, like this bad boy right here, Liu Bei, they are going to get annoyed at you by casting so many spin to win, and they are going to hyper armor through you, and they are going to one-shot you if you're New Game Plus, and if you're fighting those annoying enemies that you need to have 5 levels of morale above you. Everything else, while you're doing exploration, do not worry about anything, do not worry about any kind of enemies. The glorious thing about the spin to win is that it's also going to have some frames that you will not be hit by the enemy. So while you're on those frames, you are changing and switching positions. And yes, you can spam this thing, and if you're lucky enough, you're never going to get hit, especially on exploration. But when you're fighting bosses and main enemies, you do have to have a little bit of more consideration, but 80% of the game you are going to be spinning to win. If you like the content, if you find the video enjoyable, informative, a like on the video is super appreciated. No one told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel before you close the door, and I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.